It's time. It's time for Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show here up across your view screen as ever on Rumble X, YouTube and Facebook, all in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you. And whatever your flavour, whichever was your era, whoever's your doctor, there'll be something to send your time rotor spinning, get ducking everywhere. Is it safe to come out yet? It's the month after the month before. Time to get back to the business of nosing around the Whoniverse. Keep your eyes and your ears open, apart from him, of course. We've wrapped up, haven't we? New Who, formerly Now, a few weeks ago. What is there left to see when we return to the scene of a couple of crimes? A 90s Doctor Who crime. It's all coming up on the Big Who. It's Type 40 Live. Hello, where are we? What's going on? Look at the mess in here. I don't know what's happened in the time we've been away. Everything's been wheeled off and away and into storage and wrapped up, and the insides are outside and the outsides are inside. Surely not. It can't all be over. Not if we've got anything to say about it here at Type 40 Live with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Welcome back. How are we all feeling? We'll find out who you are in a moment or two and take the temperature of this somewhat febrile fandom. See where you're at, won't we? As we move along, we'll get things tidied up as best we can. If we grab a brush each, yeah, we'll take a corner and work our way in, and then maybe we can sort of put things back the way they were. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We've got a panel of people too, ready to get stuck in to whatever it is we can lay before them on this edition of the show. Our usual assortment of bad wolves and good eggs, ready to let fly with some harsh home truths here, particularly if you're a former showrunner who seems to be hiding out, at least for now. He's escaped the scene of the crime, but like the master culture criminal that is Russell T. Davies, we will bring him to justice in good time. There we are. Okay, so who's first? Let's get stuck right into it and reconnect with the panel. First of all, Charlotte Shields. Who else?
Hello, everybody. Yes, we're
Hello.
back after the heat, which,
it took us out.
If you're not British people, we don't cope very well. But, it was the end of the world in Britain basically last week.
The apocalypse came to get us, didn't it, Charlotte? I was in agony, absolute agony.
Well, you didn't have to be in a building with no aircon and small children for the whole of that week.
Not the small children, no.
No, and if adults couldn't cope, children definitely couldn't cope that week. So
no.
I got home on Friday and my mum looked at me and went, "Are you okay?" I just need to be in a quiet, cool room with no children around me at the minute, Mum.
Yeah, it made short work of me. I don't mind admitting, Charlotte, but it did give us time to step away from things, to catch our breath and wet the whistle.
It did.
And see if we could sort of plod on, really. I managed to pick myself up as best I could and head back to the mic and the webcam and everything else. I think sort of suitably refreshed. We'll see what everybody else has got to say. But no, I just conk out. Past a certain point, it stops being nice. I can't enjoy the bright blue skies if I'm being baked alive. That's my kind of baseline on that one.
Well, yeah, and like you said, if patience is low anyway, and I just had to deal with children being like, we literally have one aircon classroom, so we had to put them all in there for the Friday afternoon.
Okay.
And I was in the middle of it, and it was just
science
like
works like that.
A wall of noise, just like, this is my life.
A wall of everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm amazed you've made it out by now, to tell you the truth, although you're not a gibbering wreck somewhere, just clutching at a Care Bear or something.
I was very happy we had the weekend that week. I was just like, yep, I'll take pretty much anything bar what I had for work.
Well, of course, as usual, Charlotte, it's left to us in the fandom, the fractured and febrile Doctor Who fandom, to pick up the pieces and to put things back into a sort of a general orientation of where they're meant to be. And I know that you're more than capable of keeping up your end of that, and you're pretty sensible when it comes to this sort of thing. But we do have other hands to bring on board too, not least of all, straight back from the crease and into bat again. Here, it's Mr. David Milling.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Good to see you.
Hello. Good to be back. Thank you.
It's
Good
been
to
a
be
while.
back. It has, yeah. I was just listening to Charlotte's point about being in incredible heat. I was in incredible heat last Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday at Trent Bridge Cricket Ground, seeing England decapitate themselves. So that's why I'm wearing a shirt from when England used to be good.
Have they managed that?
I don't know. It's just a complete lack of ability. No, it's not a lack of ability, just a complete lack of awareness of how to play a game. A bit like a complete lack of awareness on how to write a script. So if you're a Doctor Who fan and an England cricket fan, the world is a dark place at the moment. But the England cricket team is in nowhere near is in far worse shape than Doctor Who.
That's saying a lot.
Well, that is saying a lot. But it was 37 and 37 degrees last Thursday and Friday at Trent Bridge in the blazing sun. We were in the shade. But at the back of the Radcliffe Road stand, which is one of the ends of the ground, there were the sort of like it's in the shade with the breeze normally blowing through, but there are rows of seats and benches for old folk and people struggling with the heat, and it was full all day with medics with them all the time.
Oh, God.
And it looked like a field hospital, which is ironic because in the Second World War, and I think even the First World War, the Trent Bridge Cricket Ground was used as a sort of makeshift hospital for servicemen, but that had been injured in the war. So it was almost like it was returning to its roots.
A few more casualties.
Yeah, it was just, they were handing out, no matter how much free water they were handing out. There were quite a few young people there as well who'd spent a bit too much time in the sun and drunk a bit too much of the old falling down water and not made, a bit like that, and not made use of the water fountains. So,
big mistake.
David, here's my question. Was there anybody dressed up a bit silly and very much regretted their life choices?
Yeah, they were. There's somebody that the Mario brothers were there, of course, and there was
always costumes.
Somebody, a few blokes dressed up as Ginger Spice, with the Brit Union
Blokes.
Jack. Yeah. They come as
short dress, so they weren't happy.
They come as a Spice Girls, but the fact is, they'd all come as Ginger Spice because they hadn't actually communicated. I got chatting to them.
They'd all come as the same Spice Girl.
They'd all come as the same Spice Girl because nobody could because they couldn't decide which ones to come, and they didn't all talk as you would do. Yeah. So there's a row of about 5 Ginger Spices, and some looked better than others, shall we say? Just to say,
you're looking the business in your cricket. Is it called a cricket kit or a strip? What do they call that?
It's a replica kit. It's a replica kit. So I wanted to. I didn't want to jump on
you've got the collars popped, so it looks a bit like a stage gear from Bucks Fizz in around '83.
Yeah, it's got a nice sort of. Remember the old Vodafone logo? It's got the old England sort of thing on the sleeves, so it's quite nice. Yeah, it's quite one of my favourite out of my collection, and I can't get on the football bandwagon to support England, sadly, because when it comes to football nationalities, my dad's family were moved to Birmingham when he was young, and of course they're Irish. So one supports the Republic of Ireland for rugby and football. So as far as England cricket team,
caught in a civil war, a war of independence maybe, and we know how we tend to fare with those, don't we, Gary Akers?
Well, yeah, you're 0 and 1 on that.
Gary's thinking, we're all sat here moaning about the heat, and he's like, "What are you?"
I was going to say, you know what?
They've
I
got
mean,
air conditioning.
I mean, it sounds like, you know, I'm just curious if all of you saw like any Primords running around, because you make it sound like it's the end of Inferno with the lava flowing all over the place and the red skies. And, you know, a month from now, I fully anticipate all of you going, "Oh, I'm so tired of this rain. I'm so done with the rain." I'm fully expecting to hear that. You know,
Gary, 2 weeks before the heat wave, we were being drowned out. It was like it was biblical. The rain, biblical.
Why don't you people just do extremes? You never do anything in the middle. It's either extremes. No, it's either biblical flood or roasting alive, you know.
You will be in the state of drought. I mean, it's a drought at the moment of Doctor Who. We are living in a Doctor Who drought, Gary. Time for many of us, though, I think, to lick our wounds, to cleanse the palates, and to wash our minds free of certain characters who were, let's be honest, getting right on our tits.
Okay. So, absolutely, absolutely, they were. What in the world is going on with that time-rotor in there? I mean, is that like did somebody put it in Christmas wrap or something? I mean, I don't think honestly I've ever seen that, unless I'm thinking they had to put colors on that so when it shows up like in black and white, it actually appears odd. Maybe
we're not used to seeing it like this. We're used to seeing it through the magic of television. So this was the TARDIS console room, central column and bits and pieces and floor. Sort of moved around a lot after they had filmed. Well, they'd had to abort filming on Sharda back in 1979, 1980, whenever that was. So this is what we're used to seeing it like, when the proper house lights are on it and when everything is sort of where it should be. So that is how we're used to seeing it, even though that is somewhat of a grimy image. That's the general lay of the land. So you can see now how it sort of comes together, and the magic of television would eventually turn it from that.
Was that from Sharda version 1 or version 8?
Version 45,
okay,
or whatever. They certainly handled the breakdown of production on Sharda a lot better than the current cast of Doctor Who did. I mean, there were a few pulled faces and probably phone calls to agents and things like that. But I think that the way that Tom and Lala probably would have handled it would have been to sort of knock off early, maybe go for a pint, and then a bit of afternoon delight. If they were talking to one another at that point, I'm not really sure how it was all going. And Sharda itself, I mean, what a mess Sharda is. Which version of Sharda? You're quite right. I forget how many I've seen and read and listened to by now. Sharda is another thing entirely. But I think that the lesson of Sharda is how to admit defeat with dignity, and how to accept when you're beaten, and to not make excuses for yourself or to villainize the audience, for example, which is where I think the production teams of old and the television culture of old kind of had it beaten, had us beaten where we are now, in that what happened on the television and around television was out of sight, out of earshot, and it was just sort of the television was this sort of member of the family that sat in the corner of the room, David, usually adorned with a doily and a couple of ornaments or something out of the Marshall Ward catalogue. It was friendly. It wasn't there to make us angry, was it? And I think we need to get back to that. We're going to do our bit to do that here at Type 40 Live. I think we must at least try.
Don't forget the spider plant on top of the telly as well.
No, we never had one of those.
I actually, you know what? Since we're on this, I actually heard something interesting this week, and I didn't realize this, which is that, you know, of course, you know, Sharda, the infamous, you know, victim of the strike, and even though I guess when he started his run, John Nathan Turner like tried to maybe remount it, like maybe it was like a 4-parter, but that just didn't work. And then, of course, you know, in the Davison era, you know, they lost the Dalek story for season 20, but then moved it to the next season. But one of the things, and again, I want to like dig around on this to see if this is true. For at the end of season 21, that there was, I guess, from what this story goes, mullings of some other possible like strike action, which is one of the reasons why the Twin Dilemma was tagged on to the end of the season, because had that not had Case of Androzani been scheduled as the final story of the season. Apparently there was a chance that they could have lost that. And it's like, well, he can't lose the regeneration story. So we've got to schedule a story right after it, in order to where if we can lose something, that's losable to move to the next season, but we can't lose. And I want to dig that up and see if that's true, because I've never heard that before.
I've heard variations of it. I think when you go back through JNT's columns in Doctor Who magazine, he's quite candid about the various cock-ups that nearly happened. But I didn't commit much of it to the long-term memory. I dare say some people in the live chat absolutely did, and we'll find out who you are and what you've got to say about all of that in a little while when we get stuck into talking about Doctor Who with more familiar iconography, comforting iconography. The Doctor Who logo, of course, which it doesn't quite look the way that it used to. But there's so much to talk about. Of course there is. And whilst we are moving on, we know that people are still smarting, I think. Smarting or coming to terms with that big announcement, that big update from the BBC, the best part of a month ago now, on the future or maybe non-future of Doctor Who for the time being, that's wrapped up effectively. Well, it turns out it wrapped up a year ago, 20 years of what we now and probably always have called New Doctor Who. I don't think it ever managed to come out from underneath the shadow of being termed New Doctor Who, and that will be how it's remembered, that entire 20-year production. But we're all about moving forward here, even if the BBC aren't, for the time being at least. And you can guarantee that we've got plenty to talk about on this edition of the show, including sport, as always. The World Cup's on, the World Cup soccer. Gary, this isn't your part of the world this time. How on earth did that happen?
Well, and I think I wasn't sure because I'm not following it. I think that we're winning, or we just won
Someone's got to be
match, so good on us.
David,
how's England doing, David, by the way, since the US is doing so great?
Don't upset him. I've got no idea.
When it comes to England, sadly they won yesterday against Dr. Congo, as I like to call them.
Dr. Congo.
Dr. Congo, yeah. Apparently somebody called Harry Kane scored 2 goals and rescued them from being knocked out by the DRC, which is such a shame.
Congo sounds like a character from Pokemon who wears like a long
that's what
lab coat.
That's what I call that's what I call the Democratic Republic of Congo, Dr. Congo.
Charlotte, the sport talk is more confusing than ever. I'm lost already, but it is good. It is good to know that the teams are doing sort of okay. I mean, this could be old news by now. For all I know, Scotland have been knocked out, but Karen Gillan.
Oh, they have been, Dan.
Oh, God. I really feel for both Karen Gillan and Tony Curran. It turns out that that wasn't just a one-off when we saw them out on the lash a couple of weeks ago. Their bandwagon continued. It sounds like it's now at an end. So, obviously, the former co-stars of Vincent and the Doctor back in 2010, that was, wasn't it? They were out celebrating with gusto there each time Scotland were playing. There they were, and reporting back via social media too. I didn't even recognise Tony Curran when the initial pictures came out, but he's definitely on the outside of a few beers here. They're probably not smiling now, but then again, Karen strikes me as quite a cheery person. I can't imagine it would have gone down for long. When did they go out? Anybody know?
Before the knockout stages.
Correct. Yes.
Well, Karen, if you're watching and you want to call in, we will do our best to console you.
Yeah.
And Gary will be very pleased.
Yes.
And he will understand everything about football.
Just for you.
Chat with him.
It was probably cooler for them, because I understand that some of these grounds are even air conditioned when they're open air compared to how it was for us last week. That's our excuse, and we're sticking to it. I know we're a bunch of wussies here in the home of Doctor Who, but it was absolutely frigging boiling. We just don't cope at all with any of that. Apparently there is another heat wave on the way at some point, so we reserve the right to retreat back to the barracks when this kind of shit goes down. This was unbearable last week. Again, some of us cope with it better than others. The stars of Doctor Who, including, well, I say stars, This guy, Shooter Gatwa, he's gone and grown a beard, look. And weirdly, considering it was so hot, he was wearing more clothes than usual. So there he is, giving it a sort of almost like the Nutty Professor kind of look with those glasses. It's a bit like the headgear, the glasses that Paul McGann wore in the TV movie. But what do you think, Charlotte? Do you think the beard suits Shooty?
To be honest, it does, because it makes him look a little bit older. And I think he was a little bit baby-faced. Before,
Yeah,
so it gives him
isn't
a
it?
little bit more maturity and a bit more age. So I think he pulls it off.
Yeah, don't try and pull it off. I think that could hurt.
Yeah, seconded. I agree with that. It makes him look quite professorial. I can't say that word.
Well, he just did get that degree from, what was it, University of
Glasgow.
Yeah, 2 doctorates.
Glasgow. So there you go.
Yeah, he's got to start looking the part now in case anybody asks him to prove his credentials, David. That it could happen. It could happen. I don't know where he was. Looks like he was in the Blue Peter Garden here. But so if Shooty was in your general vicinity, dressed like this, you probably wouldn't recognise him. He looks almost intellectual, doesn't he? So that's what Gatwa has been up to. This guy as well has been out. He was out and about last week. Now, apparently this bloke was in Doctor Who. I can't quite place him. Tosin something or other. He was out and about. This was at a promotional event for, where was it? For Louis Vuitton. That was it. So this was in the middle of the heat wave, and this poor guy, he must have been sweating his knackers off, David, in this thick jumper.
That's Tosin Cole?
I didn't recognise him.
My God, you would have to pay me a lot of money to wear that fluffy jumper on that day with those thick trousers. He must have lost a bit of weight.
He may have been going commando, I suppose, David. That may help a little acclimatise and keep the average down.
Well, not in those coloured trousers because it would show up the sweat patches. But
I didn't recognize him because he wasn't sucking his thumb. That's what I associate his character.
Still not entirely sure who he is. Apparently he was in Doctor Who, so if anybody does remember that, let us know in the live chat, by all means. I do remember Jodie Whittaker, of course, Gary. Jodie Whittaker has also been spotted on the streets of London. Here she is. It turns out being accosted there by 3 individuals, one of them wearing a very Doctor Who-ish coat.
Oh, I know. I didn't know this.
Yes, so I understand that the guy with his back to us in the coat is the actor Martin Short.
Yes.
So by a process of elimination, I'd say the geezer in the pork pie hat behind him is veteran comedian stroke actor Steve Martin, which means that the sexy birds to their left must be that Gomez woman. And so what's this a picture from, Gary?
This is a picture of the upcoming 6th season of, and I've never seen any shots like this before, so this is great. The upcoming 6th season of Only Murders in the Building. And the group are finally getting out of their building because all the murders happened there. And this entire season, they are going over to the UK. And apparently there is a veritable slew of special guest stars this season. I had not heard that Jodie was one of them.
Jodie
Tennant as well.
David Tennant. David, have you been keeping up with this then, David?
My daughter absolutely loves this series.
Yeah, it's a great show. I love it.
Well,
I dip in and no, she absolutely loves it, and she's really excited about it coming to the UK. I've dipped in and out of it with her 3 times, and I have to say, she's really looking forward to, as am I, to seeing who else they rope in to guest star.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Do they usually have guest stars in other series? Is it that?
As it's gone on, there have been like big names. I mean, Meryl Streep has been in a few of the seasons. Oh yeah. She was
Meryl
Martin Short's
to Jodie Whittaker.
No, she was Martin Short's paramour for a few of the seasons, and every season there is just a Nathan Lane. I mean, there is just a veritable roster every season, and it's great. But they're always used well, and usually like kind of integral to the story. But no, I adore this series. I think it's just great.
I'm going to have to give it a look. It does seem like fun, at least until I saw Jodie Whittaker turn up in it. Nicola Coughlan is also going to be one of the guest stars this time. So the Bridgerton star mostly. I think she probably would rather forget her appearance in Joy to the World now, Charlotte, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, considering her character was so badly written. So I think she's just going to carry on with the I'm the girl from Bridgerton, and before that, Dairy Girls, which is also, she was very good in that show as well.
She was.
Is she going to be playing the North Star again in Only Murders in the Building?
No.
Oh, okay.
You never know. You never know.
But I agree. It'd be interesting who they have got. If you're saying, Gary, this show has usually got quite big American talent.
Yeah.
Like, what Brits have they managed to get?
Well, this is the first season that they've gone this far, like to the UK. Like most seasons, the murders actually take place in the building. One of the I think 2 seasons ago, they went to Hollywood for about like half the season, but that was like part of the story. So, I mean, conceivably, they could get anybody. I didn't know. I'd heard about Tennant. I had not heard about Jodie Whittaker. But the thing about it is, it's like all the seasons are like 10 episodes, and all of every season is like its own story. So whatever murder happens in the first episode, every season is one story, and whatever murder happens, or at the beginning, or maybe even in the middle, it always wraps up and is solved by the final episode, but then there's always something that then trails into the next season.
Jodie Whittaker showing lots of her customary range here. That's angry, Charlotte. That's angry. She's angry with somebody on the phone, like giving it something.
Well, I was going to say, she was very good at snarling faces, wasn't she, as the doctor?
Yeah. She's having to go at Virgin Media, saying that she's going to, if they don't cut her price, she's going to go to somebody else. That's what it is. This is actually a shot. Dan is actually on that phone telling her what he thought of her era. So that explains the look on her face. So we're 6 seasons deep into this. We're 6 seasons deep into this show, are we? Did you say, Gary?
Yes, this is the 6th season. This will be the 6th season. Yeah. Could
be worth a look. Yeah, Steve. I was never a huge fan of Steve Martin myself, David. Films here and there, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I liked that. I liked Planes, Trains and Automobiles and Roxanne, and The Jerk. There's a few here and there, Parenthood, but there's lots of stuff he made that I didn't appreciate. So, yeah, but this does seem to be quite popular, so I'm going to give it a go. Yeah.
Just FYI, he is not playing his kind of wild and crazy guy persona. I mean, he is very laid back. I mean, Martin Short is the kind of off the wall, kind of, larger than life kind of, guy. But Steve Martin is the very kind of laid back, very much if you saw like Parenthood or Father of the Bride, that kind of, subtle, sedate play. That's his character in this.
What was the one where he was a weatherman and he was getting directions from a sort of like a sign? Do you remember that one?
No. That was the LA Story.
Yes, thank you. I like that film.
Remember the poster, I should say. Yeah,
that's where he met his wife, Victoria, the blonde. I can't think of the name. Not Victoria Principal, Dan. But no, Victoria, she's British and she's been in a lot. I can't but it was on that film that they met and then subsequently got married.
Oh, look,
there you go.
Somebody in the chat will know.
Instagram and X.
Victoria Tennant. No relation, I don't think.
Victoria Tennant, I don't know. And now he's on screen with Jodie Whittaker. Heaven help. Rather him than me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This does look like a fun show. And in all fairness, I used to like Jodie Whittaker when she was in other things. So I'll give this a go. And at least I've got 5 or 6 seasons to get used to the main cast. So I'm sure I can sort of weather the storm that is Jodie Whittaker appearing in that. Speaking of storms, what's sort of attempting to kick up a storm in the Whoniverse this week is this. It's up, it's running, it started. Circuit breaker is happening somewhere. We are now living in the age of the fugitive doctor, where some are reacting to this as the beginning of the reign of Jo Martin as the current Doctor, not least of all Jo Martin herself. She's sort of leaning into it. So we've had more promo art, and the Circuit Breaker event has made it to the cover of Doctor Who magazine, the official magazine, this month. There she is with Amari Douglas and Ingrid Oliver playing her two sort of associates, if not companions, in this. So it's launched after nearly a year since it was unveiled, and it's been described as a massive multi-platform summer event that's centered around the fugitive Doctor, still played by Jo Martin. So the crisis unfolds, says the blurb, across a mix of audio dramas, novels, comics, and a digital game. So it begins with this free-to-read story that was published on the 25th of June called Calling the Doctor, and then that continues in a comic first, and then in the official magazine again, the next edition of that. So that's how it all sort of happens. But people have said to me, well, surely it's multimedia, not transmedia. Transmedia must mean something else. No, transmedia is a different thing, because it's to do with interactivity from the people who are consuming it. So you can get involved with the various things. You know, you can. It's very interactive, as you'll find out if you look at this first story, and it's attached to all the different social media platforms as well in different ways. So yeah, you can sort of interact with it, and I would imagine that the game in particular would be an integral part of that as the story kind of moves along. But it's also about, if you haven't worked it out, it's about harvesting your data. That's also a big part of this for the people who are involved in putting it together. So yes, it's not multimedia, because it's not delivering the same thing all at once in one place to an audience, a passive audience. The idea is that we get involved with this and we invest in it, and we sort of spin it out and share it and all that kind of thing. Whether it's going to be successful, heaven only knows. But that first story, it is free to read on the official portal, on the unit portal. But you do have to log in. You have to generate an account if you haven't already got one. And it's not a BBC TV license account either. This is an additional account, which you have to go on a mailing list to access. So it's, again, they're harvesting the data there. But then you can read the story and in theory get involved. So has anybody read this? Charlotte, I know you've been sort of we've talked about it a little, and the general sort of the shaking of the head and the smile tends to say it all, but you've not been seduced by this remotely, have you? Do you think that you've not been tempted to take a peek?
No, and I think I agree with you. It's been funny to see, and I've seen it more with sort of the legacy media types and some of like even Doctor Who magazine. Like, they are literally treating Jo like she's the current Doctor. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this is, for the general public, this will not register. I think for a lot of the fan base, this will not register that it's even happening because it's not on screen. I think for a Doctor to have any large reaching impact, they have to be on the TV. Unless you're like a Paul McGann, who's got like years and years and years of audios. He's now established himself as a Doctor, but that didn't happen overnight. I just find it funny that Jo is... This is nothing against Jo herself. I said before, she comes across as a lovely woman, and she's really
enthusiastic.
good with the fans. I love her attitude to the fans. I think she's a brilliant sort of ambassador. We use that role to do with the Doctor.
We've had a lot worse, yeah. But
at the end of the day, this is going to be a load of noise to begin with, but then it's probably going to peter out. I think what's happening is because we haven't got anything on TV right now, and we're not going to have TV for a little while, is the vibe we're all getting.
A little while.
Yeah, I'm being polite by saying that. Some people are like rushing to this and trying to claim she's the Doctor, and it's like... She's not on the TV, and I'm sorry for majority of the people. That's your test if you're a Doctor or not.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask people, isn't it, Gary? I mean, all these multimedia and transmedia events, they're noble endeavours, and as I've said before, with some brands, there's no getting away from the fact that it does work, or at least it has worked to some degree. It's a publishing initiative, but to instill it with this greater significance it's pushing it a bit. I mean, it should be on the front of the official magazine, because that's a licensed property as well, and they are part of it. They're publishing a story next month. But other than that, yeah, I think trying to sort of make out that it's the official continuation and a new era is a harder sell, isn't it?
This is, at some point, they're going to have to just kind of, maybe at the end of this, they're just going to have to stop and let the official kind of wilderness vibe take hold and let people miss the show. This is not going to help people miss the show. This is going to help reinforce people's ideas that it's good that it's over. But I mean, I'm absolutely not going to shame anybody for or point fingers for people liking it. I mean, but it's the third go at this. Well, after the Doom, after the Time Lord Victorious, and at some point, I mean, how many, which both failed to various degrees, and at some point, when do they see the writing on the wall? But I think that there's a lot about this that's prohibitive to the general public coming in. First of all, there's no emotional connection to this doctor at all, unless you're a huge follower of the show. There's the cost to follow every single step is prohibitive.
Some people, Gary, do enjoy following those kinds of things again,
right,
but they're a minority of a minority of a minority. I know people who follow Time Lord Victorious, and that was considerably more material than this, and they followed it painstakingly. But that's never going to be.
And again, I'm absolutely not going to shame anybody who wants to buy all of the various assets, follow it step by step. God bless you. If people need a Doctor Who lifeline, and I'm not saying that snarkily, if they want to have this as their Doctor Who lifeline to help them get through what's probably going to be a very, very long period without this on the screen, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting watching to see as the months go on, David, because this is due to go on for 3 or 4 months, whether the initial push, and they have pushed this more effectively than previous examples, if the various partners, the various licensees that are involved in this can maintain that sort of momentum and keep the very few eyes that are on it, because there are some, it'd be unfair of me to say there aren't, because there are, but keeping those people's eyes on this line as it expands, as it crosses all those different medias, I think it's going to be a tough ask again.
Yeah, especially if you don't like the sort of layout, like me, of all the different sort of ways on the wiring diagram that it goes, and the various different things that you need to sort of keep abreast of. I've not read it yet, mainly because I've been a busy bee. And it was
a life.
Yeah, and it was a toss-up between listening to the Peter Purves Stephen Moffat interview, which was lovely, or reading that. And I went for something that I could listen to whilst I was going about my daily life, rather than sitting down and reading something on a website. I can see that some people will be transfixed by it, and all good for them. And I fully take my hat off to you. But is it something that I would follow? No. In short, because I think for me it's a case of having to keep engaged all the way through, and I find it in the same sort of area as a sort of 23-part Netflix drama or the program with various series, with about 8 series. You sort of watch the first one And you think, oh yeah, this is quite good, and then you sort of look more episodes, and you've got about another 70 episodes to go, and you think, oh my word, how
You know what kind of I just realized that it is, David? Tell me if you think this is an accurate analogy.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you're learning how to swim. I'll never ever forget this.
Yeah.
It was in a neighbor's pool, and it's like the oldest daughter was teaching all of us neighborhood kids to swim. So you have your head down, and you're kind of doing that, and you can see what's going on under. And she's like, "I'll stand right here," but as you're swimming, you can see her kind of move back a little, so you have to swim a little bit farther and farther.
Yeah.
Which traumatized me, because all I could think is while I was swimming is she lied anyway. But that's kind of like this. It's kind of, you think you're starting to swim and the end point, but they keep moving the end point back and back as they add more stuff.
And I think with respect to comparing it to a sort of not normal Doctor Who sort of release, I don't know, they're trying something different, but that in a sort of like, whether it be Big Finish audio, whether it be a TV season or series, there's a certain amount of episodes in that run. And if they then suddenly did use that swimming analogy, if they then suddenly tagged an extra 6 on at the end, you'd be going, oh, come on, this isn't fair. And I think that's a very, very good analogy, Gary, to explain the sort of frustration that I have with this. I've got no issues with Jo Martin at all. I think she's wonderful. I love her costume. I think it's very bold as to what they've done. But is it for me? No. And I sort of categorized Jo Martin's Doctor a bit in the same way as I categorized Richard E. Grant's version of the Doctor when he was in Scream of the Shulker. And I think it's a very similar thing. And I wish it to be really successful for her, because I admire her as a person. I think when she came on screen, a lot of people who didn't like the Jodie sort of portrayal of the Doctor thought, well, this is a guest star and she's giving a better performance than the main star in the lead role. And I was upset at the way that they didn't give her more to do as they tried to introduce her throughout the rest of the series.
Well, the problem is, David, the problem is, David, and this is something that we're still wrestling with now, all these years on, now it's 6 years on from the debut of this character, is that it was when it first appeared, when she first appeared, it was all thrown together very slapdash. Everything was massively contrived, and so everyone, both the people involved in the production and the poor sods who were out here watching it, were all shortchanged from it. And I think to move a character like this to the centre of something which is meant to be marketable, that people are going to put their hands in their pockets to follow this for the most part, because even though there are free components, most of it comes with that behind a paywall, in effect, where you've got to pay out for the next piece of it. I think it's a big ask, and I can't help but I'm pretty certain that people are just going to dip on the majority of it. I think that they should be commended for having learnt by the mistakes of the previous transmedia events. This isn't anywhere near as flabby and unwieldy as something like Time Lord Victorious. And at least it's not got a complete moron at the dead centre of it in the way that Doomsday had with Suze Kempner. And all of that everything about that was tawdry, the entire thing. This looks a bit more fit for purpose, but I think the timing of it, everything about this is off. And again, I can't help but feel that in time this will frustrate everybody who's inclined to turn up for it. It doesn't really mean a great deal to me. I'm going to get involved with it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to sample as much of it as I can. But I view it very similarly to the escape rooms thing. I don't get the appeal of that stuff. Happy for people to have them and to get involved with it. So to me, it falls into a similar bracket. So to lift it up and to say that this is now a legitimate era, I think it's all yet another case, sadly, of massive cope. Circuit Breaker began on the 25th of June with a free-to-read story called Calling the Doctor. That's on the official Doctor Who unit website, where Osgood's adventure with the fugitive Doctor continues, it says, into physical and digital media. Next part being the Titan Comics release, Adversary of the Daleks. That's coming up on the 8th of July. So let us know if you're reading that or have read the first part. What do you think? Let us know in the comments, as always, as we move on. Yes, so much for tidying things up. I think that Circuit Breaker is anything but tidy, but we've done our best. I think we've done our best between the four of us. Fortunately, we have an army of people more capable than us of doing more than their bit to tidy things up in the live chat there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. It's well past time we checked in with them. Let's see what's going on.
The Cyber King approaches. Your lives are in peril. The only way to save yourselves? Watch Type 40.
There you go. You can't say much further than that, can you? Thank you, everybody, for your patience and your time. We've got lots of comments to get to here. Thank you all. It's great. It's great to see you. So who's turned up on the clock? Let's find out. We've got David. David Harding was in right away there watching on YouTube. Good afternoon, everyone, says David. So afternoon, that means he's probably in on your side of the Atlantic, I would say, Gary, if it's the afternoon for him.
Yes.
Would be my guess. We've got some hails, as always, not least of all from Ezra Goldstein, who's joined us again on YouTube, and Stephen O'Neill too, who says there is the Oasis. Mad for it. Oasis of watching Doctor Who on BBC Three, where they repeat Peter Capaldi era, according to Stephen there. So anybody who's watching that, obviously enjoy. First time they've been repeated, I think, apart from maybe on a couple of cable channels. Stephen's well into all of this. A nice cover story, David. You stole it, really. Replica kit, my foot.
I bought it off eBay. So there you go, about 10 years ago. There you go.
You can go back through his account and check. Hail, everyone, says Lord
I will
Thoth.
do.
See you, Lord
prove
Thoth. And Stephen Braddock, he says he was working in his bakery through the heat wave at 190. It was like working in Doctor Who's Inferno. So Stephen went prime mode as well. And Woodhouse 122 confirms our greatest fears that there could indeed be another heat wave on the way. I can barely wait, Charlotte. I'm counting the days. Jeez. Ahoy, says Ian Scales. Ahoy, back to Ian. Woodhouse, Woodhouse was in Blackpool last week and got roasted by the sounds of it.
In the sea, Woodhouse.
Got it full in the face by the sounds of it. Yeah, it sounds good.
Do any of you have backyards big enough to put up an inflatable pool?
No, not really. No. Paddling pool maybe. But
did you know that Bob Marley used to work in a bakery before he became a singer? He was responsible. He was responsible for the donuts. He was responsible for the jamming. So,
of course he was.
Go on, take it home.
Thank you.
He'll be here all week.
There's a Stevie Wonder version of that as well.
Remember to tip your waiters, ladies and gentlemen.
Cheryl's in. Hi all. Hope you're all okay. And she's even given us the little hand sign there. We're okay-ish until the next heat wave. We're okay, Cheryl. Good to have you back with us. Adrian James is on deck as well. Evening, everybody. Is that Adrian in his little picture, or is it Wilf from Doctor Who? I can't quite make it out who that is. Who knows?
I don't think that's Wilf.
That's not Wilf.
It's Grant Mitchell.
It's Grant Mitchell. Stephen Braddock seems to think that the best thing on Disney Plus is the Only Murders in the Building that we were looking at a little while ago, and so does Woodhouse 122. It's a decent show worth catching on Disney Plus. Derek Jacobi is going to turn up in season 6.
Wow.
I love Derek Jacobi.
See,
I love him.
This show's been on enough, and it's won enough awards, and is high profile enough. Every time a new season debuts over here, it's really high profile. They do a big preview of it. It's really, really big. And so it doesn't surprise me that they can get all these names.
Jodie Whittaker, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was talking about more Jared Jacobi than Jodie Whittaker.
She's not the Doctor. She's not anything, says Stephen O'Neill. Now, is he talking about Jodie Whittaker or is he talking about Joe Martin?
Think about Fugitive.
I'll give her a spot as Doctor. I'm quite liberal on these.
Get a spot on your squad, wouldn't she? Yeah. We've got Julie Dunn in the live chat. She asks, why didn't they cancel this rubbish too? This does damage as well as the Christmas special. I think that could be. Hi, Julie. Good to see you. I'm not sure this is actually going to do any harm because there are so few people who are aware of it. They're the people within the fandom already. I think that it could. I think it could, in the way that Gary has sort of suggested, give people a kind of bit of a security blanket, which it's open to debate as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think sooner or later we have to accept the fact that Doctor Who is out of production and to some degree move on with our lives and not to lift this up as to being anything that it isn't. But I don't think it actually is going to do any harm because the general public have no idea who this character was because nothing was ever said on screen, and they don't really know what these multimedia, transmedia events actually are. They aim squarely at us, at the dedicated fan base to see which of us will pay into them. So I can't see any damage that this will do apart from the damage to a couple of people's wallets of a bad investment. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, Gary, do you think this could harm the brand?
It's not well known enough, and it's not significant enough to harm the brand. It's a marketing. I don't want to say gimmick. What would be a better word, Dan, than gimmick? It's not,
initiative.
Initiative. It's a marketing initiative, and it's basically kind of like if you're a Star Trek fan, you may not have time to read all the novels. That come out and follow every bit of collateral that comes out. You may not even know about most of it. So I think it's there for the people that know about it, and it's just too. It's even with a cover on the magazine, it's not enough. When they, sometime later this month, if they announce the next collection set, that will get more legitimate.
Yeah, that's a genuine
talk about it rather than this. This is too
because there's
niche.
a real appetite for that kind of material.
This is too niche.
PVFS believes we shouldn't even be encouraging it, Charlotte, regardless.
Well, look, here's the thing. For the people who want to have the Fugitive Doctor's character sort of given a bit more sort of fleshing out, a bit more actually giving her sort of this story to breathe a bit and all of that, I do not mind that at all, because we've said this, for some people who have watched the Jodie's era, they quite like Jo's Doctor for what they've got of her. So for them, this is going to be brilliant. Like, this is going to be their Doctor in a full story, giving... And from the bits I've seen, it looks like Osgood in this, which I think is actually a good play for Osgood. And I can't believe I'm about to say this. From what I can understand, she's been very sort of questioning of Jo's Doctor. She's been sceptical of her. And I'm like, actually, to go from the sycophantic fan, which is how she was always written in the Moffat run, to sort of being the one to go, no, actually, I'm going to sort of put you to task a bit. I'm going to challenge you. That's a good move for that character. So if it can give these characters those
it implies
bits,
a development.
Yeah, if it can develop these characters, if it can give them a bit of breathing space to become more than sort of the really thin versions on screen, I think that is a good thing, to be fair.
You know what? Just a horrible thought just came into mind as I was listening to what you said, Charlotte, because I have no doubt you're right. I honestly, and I don't know, people, this is just me guessing. This is going to wrap up with Osgood in some way dressing up as her Doctor, which will be intended to legitimize. It's like, oh, Osgood only dresses up like actual doctors, so now she's dressing up as the Joe Martin Doctor. That legitimizes Joe Martin as an actual Doctor. How much you want to bet something like that happens?
You're probably right. You're probably right. According to Bill Silver here, who's joined us on YouTube as well, the Fugitive Doctor is going to be the Doctor in the Doctor Who magazine strip now, apparently, until the show returns or the magazine folds, whichever comes first.
Officially?
I know that the next comic strip, so the next edition of the magazine, obviously will feature a comic strip as it usually does, and that will tie into to Circuit Breaker. So it's called, what is it called? I think that's the Honourable Society. So I would imagine that is the comic strip there. And the Titan licensed comics are involved too, and then it goes straight into an audio drama. So I can't imagine that they will remain with the Fugitive Doctor, but I haven't read that anywhere. I can't say that's not true.
They can't keep running Shooty. They can. The comics ran Sylvester McCoy for years, like almost like 7 years or whatever, because he was still technically the Doctor after Survival. Right.
Yes.
And even with McGann had like a 9-year run in the comics, which was an awesome era for the comics. Stuff. But because he was the Doctor. But now that we actually saw Shooty regenerate, they can't keep running Shooty stories because he's not the Doctor.
Your pitch for a story has seduced Chris from Black Love Studio. He's also watching the live chat.
We'll revisit anybody who, when this thing wraps up, let me know.
I was going to say, a good idea for the comic strip is to start again with Bill, have a Doctor a month or like a Doctor for a while.
They used to do that in the 90s, yeah.
They did.
And have new stories with those Doctors. That's what they should be doing.
That's what they did in the 90s. They ran Sylvester for about like 7 years
until 92, 93.
And then and then they had a period where it was like a rotating cycle of like 3 to 4 part stories with past Doctors. They would do like, 4, Tom, then Pat, then Davison, and then they were all kind of like, 3 or 4 parters, but they cycled through. And then when it got to the point where they knew the TV movie was coming, they had one final
McCoy
story, which was a great story, and they didn't regenerate him, but it was basically the final story for the McCoy Doctor. Something really, really terrible and traumatic happens, and the final panel of his story was just him with grim-faced shutting the door of the TARDIS, and that's how they wrapped up.
As I remember, the reason why they did that was to line up with the VHS releases.
Yeah,
because it was all becoming somewhat of a part work. Because the VHS releases would be just random Doctors at any given point, then the comic strips could sort of echo that. So I suspect we'll get there eventually. I have my thoughts about Doctor Who magazine, about where that is and where it should be going. Not that they'll ever listen to me, but plenty of people have lots of opinions about that. I mean, people are speculating, can an official Doctor Who magazine stay in publication now that the series is off for an undefined period? We don't know, but if you've got any instincts about that, of course, let us know in the live chat or drop us a comment. We'll be checking back in with you in a little while when we talk about some more topics. We'll get your opinions on everything else that's coming up, so stay right where you are. There's a lot more coming up.
You're watching Type 40. Stupid tune anyway.
Welcome back. Lots of us will know the name Justin Richards, even if we may not be sure where from. Justin was a prolific British author with dozens of Doctor Who stories to his credit, novels, audio dramas, reference books too. All of that material made him one of the franchise's most influential writers. Despite never having written for the television series, Justin passed away on the 8th of June 2026 at the age of 64. He'd been fighting tragically for a number of years, early onset dementia. And finally passed away at their home in Warwickshire over the weekend just gone. The amount of contributions that this man made to Doctor Who, particularly during its most trying times as an IP, cannot be underestimated. Fiction and non-fiction from the 90s onwards, practically until the present day. And he's left behind a vast assortment of works for everybody to enjoy, stretching across every format you can name, and multiple publishing lines. An integral figure in the BBC books publishing range in particular, as he was creative consultant there for a long, long time, and was a safe pair of hands, I suppose, during that period where Doctor Who went from the wilderness to being at the heart of popular culture once again, and the biggest show on television. Justin Richards was responsible for some of my favourite Big Finish dramas, and was also the writer of several seminal Doctor Who books. Did you see this story break, the sad loss of Justin, David?
Sadly, I did. Yeah, I think I was the first to announce it on the sort of like admin chat group. Very, very sad. Justin wrote some of my favourite Doctor Who books, going back to the Virgin Missing Adventures with System Shock, and then followed it up with the brilliant sequel of Millennium Shock, which was, for fans of Harry Sullivan, was virtually which was totally Doctor-like sequel with the Fourth Doctor, and a brief appearance from Sarah Jane, where Harry Sullivan was working for MI5, so it's almost Harry Sullivan as a sort of James Bond type character, and he was just a magnificent author. Also, another really good book was The Burning, for Paul McGann's Doctor, and then for the 10th Doctor, he wrote the excellent Resurrection Casket, about a story about. I urge you to read it if you've not read it. It's about a story of pirate robots that are pirates, but one of them is a killer, and it's just completely wacky, but it works. And I thought he told a story most beautifully, and all of his books that I read, I always used to see, and it's sort of my Doctor Who books collection is quite patchy, but
mine too.
You could bet your bottom dollar if I saw Justin Richards' name on the spine of the book, I'd buy it, because I knew I was going to get an absolute page turner. I was going to get a well plotted story, and I was going to be thoroughly entertained. One also is a brilliant story with the Sixth Doctor that he co-wrote with Stephen Cole and the Brigadier, and they go time traveling to meet Hitler and eating sausages with Hitler, called The Shadow in the Glass. There's a bit of witchcraft in there. There's the mystery of who are these human remains in Hitler's bunker, and it's a beautifully written, absolutely spot on plotted time traveling mystery, and with the brig as well, because up to that point, I don't think it might have just appeared with the brig in Big Finish, the Sixth Doctor, but apart from Dimensions in Time, there wasn't this meeting between them, and it was the first sort of real imprint meeting between the Doctor and the brig, and it was he had just an amazing ability to write prose, and his plotting was brilliant. He kept all the characters were really well rounded. There was lots of humor in his writing, and everything had jeopardy. Everything mattered, and it kept you I remember reading Millennium Shock. It would be one summer's night. I was reading it before bed. In 2000. It was one summer's night, and I was a bit bored. And so I started it at 9 o'clock in the evening, and I read it all the way through, cover to cover, till 4 in the morning, because I just could not put the book down. And I read it all in one, and I was just thoroughly entertained all the way through.
He was an accomplished writer outside of Doctor Who as well.
Brilliant writer.
Ranges, stories, characters that he'd created. As with a lot of these names, Charlotte, I had no idea what Justin Richards looked like until, well, some years after I read the first works by him, never mind what he sounded like. And here's a brief clip here of Justin Richards talking about his work and Doctor Who and everything else here.
We had a reception for 40 years of Doctor Who at the House of Commons, which was extraordinary. There was a lot of MPs and celebrities and people there, and Christopher Weller, who was one of the bosses at BBC Worldwide, came up to me at that, and we'd chatted a couple of times before, so I knew him vaguely. And it had just been announced that Russell was bringing back the new series, and he said, you know, this is because of us. He said, we're the ones who kept the faith during all these years. We're the ones who knew it was going to come back, and we've kept it alive. And without us, it probably wouldn't have happened. And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the thing is with Doctor Who, it inspires the imagination, I think, for everybody who watches it in one way or the other. And so we're so lucky that you have the writers on the TV show, but then you have this incredible staple of book writers, of audio writers. As people know, every Christmas I get a Doctor Who book, and it's sort of become a tradition now that I get for myself. And I think it's what's so fun, and this is what I love about reading them, is in a book you can add so much more detail. It's like I was reading the Evil of the Dalek book a while ago, and there were little things that were just, you could tell it was the flourish of the writer. It was the sort of the fact that on a page you can do that, which you on a script you're so squeezed for time, aren't you? Especially I think in those classic formats when you only had half an hour an episode, everything had to be so concise. Yeah. But in a book you can just do what you want a little bit. So I think that's why Doctor Who has done so well in that format. And I just think it's that idea of, I think now it's very precedent. Like we're saying, if you just want to have that touching point, if you just want to experience the Doctor again, for some people that you can do that is just sitting down and reading a book. And it's just the same. So I think it's very important that we do sort of celebrate these authors we've got.
It seems that he was the go-to man to make things happen, to get trains on the track, whether it be audio drama. He was the main shining light for the Jago and Lightfoot range for Big Finish, which was phenomenally successful for them. Yeah, I think he stayed with it practically to the end as well. And in print, he was also the one who originated that line of books that began with Monsters and Villains, those sort of softback books that began when the series came back to television in 2005, that had that kind of quality whereby the casual audience would buy them for their children who'd latched onto that new Doctor Who show thing as something to put in their Christmas box or at birthdays, things like that. So this man seemed to be able to tailor to each project and know the exact audience that a book was potentially aimed at, whether it be people like us who were looking at the new Adventures range, for example, Dyed in the Wool Doctor Who fans, or whether it was to give casual punters a little something of what they'd enjoyed on television. He seemed to know the right version of Doctor Who to offer to each quadrant, if you like. And here he is with the Big Finish team. They've put up a lengthy tribute on bigfinish.com Justin. In fact, I think one of his children, is it Julian Richards, works for Big Finish. I think he's got two sons, come to think of it, who've also gone into sort of media in one degree or another. And here he is with Nick Briggs and Paul Cornell and Gary Gillard and Mark Gatiss and various other people that we recognise that are associated with not just the show as the brand. He really did endure it in a way that few other creatives ever had the chance to, Gary, despite never having written for the television show. When I was looking at this and researching him, I thought to myself, well, I wonder if it ever annoyed him that he never got to write for the TV show. But I suppose maybe he didn't want to. Maybe we shouldn't assume, should we?
Well, here's the thing. In all of these, if you look at all the different media that he wrote for collectively, he pretty much covered pretty much every doctor there was to cover. And he could write whatever doctor he was writing, always like spot on, not only the doctors, but the companions. And so you didn't feel like I haven't read yet all of his works. A couple of them really stuck with me, but
nowhere near, in fact.
But whatever he was writing was always like, you hear it in your head and you weren't like, okay, that's not the Sixth Doctor. No, that's not Patrick Troughton, whatever. He was, the classic series was like so much like a part of him that he could impeccably like call up, and whether we were reading it or listening to it. So in effect, it's like, yeah, it's unfortunate he didn't write for the actual TV show, but in a way that he did, because he was giving us adventures that were spot on for whatever doctor he was covering. I read the one that two things kind of stuck with me. The one I guess was it Missing Adventure was the Fifth Doctor one called Sands of Time, which was the Fifth Doctor, Tegan and Nyssa.
I did get that
one. It was kind of a both a prequel and a sequel to Pyramids of Mars. I mean, the front cover had a mummy holding Nyssa in his arms. And, you go back to it now and read it and you think, okay, if you're going to bring back anything from Pyramids of Mars, this is the way to do it, not the way that it was done on television. And it was great. It was like you'd think you were reading something that actually was televised. A missing Fifth Doctor adventure. And there was another, back also in the days, of the novels, we would get some of those collections. We would get collections called like Short Trips or whatever, which were collections of like short stories. And those were some of those were in audio form, but some of them they published a couple three print collections. And there was one actually that he did where it took place even before Unearthly Child. It took place with Ian and Barbara, where one of Barbara's friends was like a fortune teller. Like he sits in the cafes and reads people's palms and stuff. And meets, Ian, and Ian thinks he's a charlatan, but she reads his palm and it's like, oh, you know what? You're going to go on a great journey, and do things that no human has ever done before. Yeah. This, that, and the other thing. And Ian gets angry and thinks she's a charlatan and kind of storms off. And there's like some kind of package sitting there, which is implying basically that he kind of then seals his own fate by not listening to her.
These stories make an impact really on people. Both yourself and David can remember these plots to that extent. Some of his audio dramas are some of my favourites. I think that Whispers of Terror was probably the third Big Finish story. And I think that was one whereby they wanted to make something. That was the story that they chose of that initial four. That they wanted to publish a story that would only work in audio that could never have worked on the television. And that brief, I don't know how many people they offered that brief to, but I'd say a lot of writers would probably find that quite intimidating unless they'd written a hell of a lot of radio. And I'm not sure that Justin had. And yet Whispers of Terror was fantastic. A favourite of mine was Time of the Daleks. When I went through and listened and looked at a list of these stories, I was amazed how many of my favourites, quite by coincidence, were written by Justin Richards. I love Time of the Daleks. The Renaissance Man with Tom Baker and Ian McNeice is particularly good. But the thing that affected me the most was, strangely, these books that began with Monsters and Villains back in 2005. I'd imagine you've got a couple of these tucked away, Charlotte.
Well, it's funny. You were literally just showing pictures, and then my brain clicked, and I was like, I've got a book that's very similar cover-wise to that, and I found it because it's still on my page. It's still upstairs. So this is the one I had.
There you go.
That was the third one. Yeah, they did one every year.
Which was Creatures and Demons. I've literally kept it from childhood. So.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Can I just? I had that book too.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's a great book. I got it as a Christmas present.
There's even like classic stuff in it. So
there's a Quark.
Yeah. As they went along, and they carried on doing them right up until it was through the Russell T Davies era. So they stopped. They never did any during Matt's time in that format, but they kept that format, and I think they put 5 or maybe even 6 out. And then there's a collected one as well, which they put into hardback, which was all of them plus a few extra pages. They were brilliant, and you see them in charity shops all over, and at every car boot sale, there's 1 or 2, sometimes a full set of them, and quite often they're very dog-eared, and they've been written as some kid has written their name in it, so you know
I wouldn't care. I'd buy them all.
They've been really well loved over the years. And to me, that's
in good condition still. Like there's no doggies on it.
And he wrote all of them.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, he was editor. He was, excuse me, just an amazing writer of fiction and non-fiction. And if I may just wheel it back to Whispers of Terror, that was seminal, really seminal, because it was as you said quite rightly, Dan, it was the third Big Finish one, and that was the first story where he absolutely nailed Colin Baker's Doctor.
Yeah,
he absolutely changed the narrative.
Oh, that was the first Colin solo one, wasn't it?
Yes,
I think it was the fourth one.
It was the first one where he absolutely made Colin into a believable Doctor, because obviously the Sirens of Time was the first release with the multi-Doctor one, and that sort of repaired a little bit of the damage that had been done that really Colin hadn't had the opportunity to really shine very well. But the Whispers of Terror, Doctor was front and center of the plot. It had Peter Miles in it as well, who's always such a rich voice.
It had a green. It had a green cover.
Yeah, and it was just, and it had your political intrigue in there as well, which I love. But it was all about audio and how, as you quite rightly said, it could not have been done on telly. It was all about sound waves. It was such a creative piece of work, and he absolutely nailed the Sixth Doctor, and was, I believe, fully responsible, as in with his other prose, his printed work, in actually turning around the opinion that Colin was a bad Doctor. And I firmly believe if it hadn't have been for Justin's work, I don't think the Sixth Doctor would have been as revered as he is now. And because he was just able to nail the characters and devoting a whole book virtually to Harry Sullivan. Harry's character in the TV show was, bit bumbling. Harry Sullivan is an imbecile, this sort of thing. But he took Harry's initial character and he made him into this really kind of rugged Secret Service sort of agent who was really sort of caring and wanted to solve it and wanted to stop it. And and his ways of developing characters was just, I think, the best author out of any of the BBC books to be able to do that. And
he didn't suddenly make Harry Sullivan into James Bond. He kept him as that kind of almost hapless character, but brought through a brand of heroism, I suppose, which is to reach into these characters and pull something out of them that I wouldn't say that we never knew was there in the first place, but something that was under the surface. The character that they were on their path to being in the company of the Doctor. I think you see that with the best of those sort of spin-off ranges, and nobody was better at that stuff than Justin Richards, which is reflected by the comments in the live chat here on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. People obviously very shocked that Justin has left us at such a young age, and remembering various titles, in particular, lots of people mentioning the Sands of Time there that Gary was talking about, that sequel to the Pyramids of Mars. Several people, Chris, Bill, and David, all mentioned that. And the sheer number of titles too, Charlotte. Oh God, just look at them, says Dracula. And see, Charlotte's thumbing her way through that book now.
She's having a great time.
This is the gift of good writing.
Well, yeah, and it's just like in this, I'm thumbing through it. I forgot how much classic stuff there was in this. Like they've got Land of Fiction, the Quarks, like.
They got the soldiers from the Land of Fiction in there, if I recall.
And like you've got our friend who we talked about with his
bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Like and this is what was brilliant about these books. Like for me, who didn't know these stories, who didn't have the connection to sort of go, oh God, what's that? Like the War Machines. Like you can see like full like coloured pictures of classic monsters.
Oh, the Furvoids. Yeah. I love them.
And that's why, Dan, before you made some kind of comment that it was kind of great that all of us could remember like details of stories. And that's why I said he was so gifted at no matter what Doctor he was writing for, his depictions were so dead on. And even if it was like, say, in the case of Harry, where it was like a different aspect of his personality, but still it fit with everything we knew about him. So we felt like we were watching or we were reading or listening to an actual adventure. We just hadn't seen it yet because it was so true to what was depicted on the television, and that's why his stuff is so memorable. It stays with you because for all, intents and purposes, these were real adventures, just not on television,
Extraordinary contribution from Justin Richards. Look at that. Let's have a clip.
Love that story.
That's a resprayed axon.
I could play all day in my green cathedral.
Yes.
But like I said, look at that. So can you just get the camera a bit closer? Like that's some concept art for the Impossible Planet.
Wow.
That's what I loved about this era when these books were coming out, though, because like I said, it was just that extra peek behind the curtain. It was just that extra thing of like seeing the concept art or seeing old pictures. And it's the fact that they were so clever and just in being such a part of these kind of books. It was the importance of showing all the legacy and everything that had gone before and doing it in like a bite-sized format that I didn't know these stories, but I go, oh God, look at that creature. Look at that alien.
Yeah, they weren't just like paste up cash grabs.
No.
Like slap a few pictures on, dole out a little bit of text and charge whatever. No, you can tell he really, these books were like real, like love fests for the show.
It gave a lot of care.
Sad. It's always sad when members of the Doctor Who community who've made such a big contribution, any contribution, come to think of it, leave us. In the case of Justin Richards, it'll be very similar to you, Charlotte, and there'll be lots of people with his books, his audio dramas, his graphic novels, various titles that he was involved in, to one degree or another, who will have them on their bookshelves for years, decades to come. And when physical media goes completely, and when the Kindle becomes whatever that's going to become, I can see a lot of his works making that transition and staying with us, which I suppose is the legacy that most writers will hope for. And let us know, by all means, which is your favourite of Justin's works, wherever you read them. Let us know in the comments, and maybe we'll compare some notes and contrast. But yeah, for now though, obviously our condolences to Justin's colleagues, friends, and family. I think a lot of people were shocked to see this news. Very, very sad. Rest in peace, Justin.
Hello, this is Sue Molden. On behalf of the team, I'd like to say how overwhelmed and extremely grateful we are to everyone who has donated so far. The response has been magnificent, and we are especially grateful to those who have pledged regular donations. A big thank you from all of us at Film is Fabulous.
This is Type 40 live on Rumble X, YouTube, and Facebook. Welcome back after a couple of weeks of unplanned leave, shall we say. We're not quite sure where things are going as regards Doctor Who, but there's always plenty to talk about. And if you're enjoying this conversation, if you're new here, Rumble X, YouTube, dive into our back catalogue, our playlists of past conversations. So there's all our explosive news reporting on the crisis that hit the Christmas special, of course, and we know how that played out. We were the first with that news. Forget the official magazines. Forget the high profile commentators and the huge platforms. We were there first. The receipts are all there in our playlists, all dated. Go and scroll back and relive those times with us, as well as our deep dives on various stories and releases and the people that have made Doctor Who something really, really special. It brings us back time and time again, whether it's on the telly or not. There's across all major podcatchers, as always, or our home feed at type40.podbean.com. Latest edition of that out is myself and Anthony. We got together with real Doctor Who fandom hero here, Dallas Jones, who revolutionised fandom down under. This guy was up to his neck in it. He was bringing the fight to keep Doctor Who on television in Australia directly to the network itself. He tells that story and several others. Most of them are repeatable in polite company, but this man has really lived. He's travelled, lots of tour stories, and another fabulous character. You know, we love eccentrics here on Type 40, of course we do. But that particular breed of Doctor Who eccentric, I don't think you could find any better example of than Dallas Jones. It's a fabulous conversation that he had with Anthony and I. So go and find that across all major podcatchers. And of course, there's an enhanced version of it too here on the YouTube and Rumble channels. Oh, so much going on after all. It almost makes me yearn for simpler times. Now, who am I kidding? Of course not. Of course not. Look, wherever you're watching, however you're interacting, Rumble X, YouTube, or Facebook, bring us some more in the comments. We've got a lot of places we intend on going between now and then, whenever then turns out to be. It's so exciting. In fact, I think I need to visit the little boys' room. Yeah. It works. It's that time of the show again, yes, where we step back. We forget about the troubles, the strife of being a modern Doctor Who fan, and head back to TV past a reassuring time where golden faces and silky voices of Doctor Who legends were selling us all manner of old tat on the other side there, on the ITV and Channel 4 and various places, in classic adverts. Here's the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. We'll be back with more in a couple of minutes. See you then.
Join Doctor Who on his new travels in the Doctor Who DVD files. Every disc features 2 full episodes from the Doctor's dramatic return.
I am the god of all Daleks.
To his latest adventures.
You are wonderful.
And the companion fact files show you his history, his friends, and his enemies. The Doctor Who DVD files at your newsagent now.
Whew, if you'd seen me this morning, rotten cold, market day ahead, wondering how I'd get through, till the wife told me, here, she says, Day nurse, she says. What nurse, I says? Day nurse, she says.
Day Nurse, the new daytime cold relief from the night nurse people. Relieves shivers, headache, runny nose, sore throat and cough. All together but without drowsiness, so you can keep going through the day.
You'll get through easily, the wife says. And she was right.
New Day Nurse from Beecham. All-round cold relief that helps you through the day.
The new Doctor Who toy collection, featuring the 12th Doctor action figure and all your favourite characters.
Daleks are the supreme beings.
Join the Dalek Empire with this awesome Dalek attack vehicle. Let the invasion begin and battle the Doctor through time and space.
Exterminate!
Connect the time zone playsets. Build bigger adventures. Become the Doctor with the new touch control sonic screwdriver. The ultimate Doctor Who toy range from Character.
Only one of these people has Scholl thermal insoles. Thermal insoles really keep your feet warmer. With a thermal insulator, plus this amazing aluminized film, originally designed to combat sub-zero temperatures in space. You've got the thermal insoles, haven't you?
Yes.
Scholl thermal insoles keep the heat in your feet.
Keep the heat in your feet. We're back with more of your Type 40 Live, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. So, yeah, the Doctor Who icons, it's all hit the skids, so they're all having to find employment elsewhere. The BBC has shuffled the deck and found room where they can for plucky newcomers. So I think that versatility and the ability to take on new roles could stand the Daleks in particular well there if they remain with the BBC. So let us know who you would exterminate first. Okay, so we're back with more. We've got the panel. Yeah, nobody's escaped in the time that we've taken for the Doctor Who ad break there. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Everybody refreshed. So it's good to be back, isn't it? It's good to be back. Get one of these down, yeah. Get your gams around one of those there. Yes, there's lots to talk about. Thank you, everybody. We've got more comments in the live chat. Corvin's turned up, so people are rolling in late. Fly Highland is here too. Stephen Braddock, AFJK is here too. He says, that stuff used to knock me out as a kid. So is that something from the ad break?
I think he's talking about thermal insoles.
Oh.
Yeah, day and night nurse, I imagine.
Don't eat the insoles, everybody. Is the Dalek the new Director General of the BBC, says Stephen Braddock? No.
I don't know. With those job cuts, apparently, it is a bit Dalek-esque, isn't it?
It could have to pull double duty. It could well happen. It could well happen. Yes, so let us know where you are with everything we've spoken about so far. We've got a few more things to get stuck into as well. Earlier on, we spoke about the sad loss, didn't we, of Justin Richards there. I think a lot of people will be obviously shocked to see that news and very sorry because of all the books that we own, all owned by the guy.
I was thinking that, for everybody who, if anybody who's now heading into the this hiatus with, a sense of trepidation about what are they going to do, you could do much worse than going on, say, to TARDIS Wiki or Wikipedia and just creating for yourself a list of all of, the books, the audios and stuff, just by Justin Richards alone. And make yourself a checklist and just start diving into all of his works. That would be, I think, a great way for you to, pass the time until Who comes back on our screens again, since everything he did, it's like watching an actual show. So, you could do, that could be your kind of way you kind of navigate through this next time, is just pick a great author like Justin Richards and, go and enjoy his complete works.
And just because not everybody's a reader, Gary, I don't really read, certainly not novels, not long form, pure prose like that. I'm a graphic novels guy or an audio drama guy, but the principle there is exactly the same. And you can sort of find the groove or the range that you want to follow. Yep. And I wouldn't say it won't be like Doctor Who's gone away. It will, because Doctor Who is a TV show. but there are so many great stories there. I mean, the amount, particularly everything Big Finish put out in the first decade in existence was incredible to one degree or another, including the spin-off series, all the comic strips that have been put out, unless you look at stuff that's been made by Titan. Everything else has been pretty good. Everything that Marvel and IDW have done, there's so much to enjoy. And there's some Doctor Who fans are bigger readers than others, but the beauty of us now living in the age that we do is that whichever Doctor you like or writer, there's something to follow out there. And then, of course, there's the creatives. They're the people who've guided the show. And look, anything has got to be better reading than this, than the update we had on the future from Doctor Who from the BBC a few weeks ago. You know, very corporate and flat and sort of finger wagging, hands off our IP. It'll be back when we say it's back, and all that kind of thing. Sort of back away, nothing to see. I think that Doctor Who fans, as time has gone on, we've looked at that and thought, yeah, okay, we're not impressed, are we? No, definitely not impressed. We're even less impressed with the offering from Russell T Davies over on Instagram. When you haven't read this, I said to Charlotte earlier on, when you take time away from that rolling news story, because being in the eye of that storm for a week, 10 days, whatever, covering it all was quite intense. And when you take time away from it and then come back to it and reread Russell's statement, my God, this sounds, there's no other word I can use than plain nasty. It sounds, it sounds like two large fingers in word form directed, and it's not directed at the casual audience. This is directed right at the fandom, Charlotte. It's not the best parting shot.
No, I was saying to Dan, I've got a friend who we grew up watching Doctor Who in 2005 together. She's still my best mate, and we both are Mac girls. Like, that was our era together. It was with her I went to the Doctor Who experience with in Cardiff.
No.
But she's very much a casual fan. Like, she's watched some of Shooty, she watched some of Jodie, and when it just wasn't to her, she ducked out. And I said to her afterwards, I said, you probably did the smarter play there. But so with all the news that was happening, we hadn't caught up anyway, and she sent me a message, and it was half of it was to do with the heat, to check I think I was still alive, and then the other half was, we have to talk about Doctor Who. So she's not part of this whole fan sort of side of it, the whole, like you said, the eye of the storm. And I just said to her, because she knew what happened, but she didn't know all the details. And I just said, read this. I didn't give her any context. I just said, this is Russell's parting shot. That's how I phrased it. And she got through it. And the first words out of her mouth was, oh, God, he's angry. And, like, that's what I found so telling, like you said, that I think even
angry
if you
and
don't
bitter.
know, that's how she described it to me. And she's not part of this, like you said, the furore and everything that we know and all the comments we've seen he has said. Even from an outsider, in that way, she could read that emotion. So that was really telling for me when I had that chat with her.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing, I think, even though this is a small passage, this is some light reading. It's not going to take you very long to read this, David. So go on, get your mind back on it, Hadley. So even though it doesn't take long to read this, it has a certain tone. And I was quite happy thinking, when I read this, well, he's gone. I won't need to read anything more or hear anything more unless I choose to from Russell T Davies ever again. And I would imagine that given the tone of this, he's well aware that for a great many of us, he is the last person we'd want to hear from. And yet, relatively soon afterwards, it was announced that Russell T Davies has a new book on the way. It's called Gary Size.
Is that what it's called? Gary Size.
Gary Size sounds like a pop star, doesn't it? Gary Size.
Gary Size.
So the book is called The Queerest of Folk: A Life in Television. It's a memoir, as described by the publishers, spanning his 5-decade writing career, and it's going to be published this coming autumn. And yes, The Queerest of Folk does cover this disastrous second stint that Russell T Davies had as the Doctor Who showrunner from 2021 to 2025. I suppose they're going to sort of bracket it that way. Russell T Davies is one of the UK's foremost writers of TV drama, most prolific, most powerful, respected. For such works as Years and Years and Casanova, Cucumber, Bob and Rose, The Second Coming, Nolly, It's a Sin, all of those shows, as well as Queer as Folk and Doctor Who, which he's closest identified with, I suspect. A memoir, with the benefit of hindsight, probably isn't that surprising after a career that's lasted that long. But yet again, I think we have a timing malfunction here. A timing malfunction. This is published by Bantam Books. And not only publishing the book is one thing, but he's taking it on the road. So here he is. You can book a ticket, Gary. You can jet over here, and you can book a ticket at the Soho Theatre in Walthamstow. And you can hear Russell T Davies publicise his book on stage there at the theatre from Fane Productions. Tickets are now available. And it says here, Russell is taking us inside the rooms where it all happened, drawing on his new memoir, The Queerest of Folk. He will sit down with a very special guest host. Oh, God, it's going to be a drag queen, isn't it? With a very special guest host for a conversation that promises to be honest, funny, and fearless as the man himself. He didn't appear to be very fearless in that statement. In fact, it sounded like he was running away from Doctor Who with his tail between his legs this time. I'm not going to be booking up for this. But I was surprised to see him out on the road so soon. Gary, are you chomping at the bit? And do you feel a sense of FOMO knowing that this is happening so far away?
Well, I mean, I'll fly over and go to this if I can crash on your couch. I'll be happy to go to this. I'll even raise my hand multiple times with some questions and comments if they do a Q&A after.
How screened do you think those questions are going to be now?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, the host is probably going to be like Jinx Monsoon or somebody like that.
Yeah.
I will not be buying this book. Oh, audio. You know what? If he actually did the audio for it, I would be tempted to
reading the audio book version himself.
All right.
Again, the sound of that man's voice, that kind of hyperactive way he has of sort of blowing smoke up his own arse, David. I don't think I can listen to that for 3 minutes, never mind 3 hours. They should get somebody better to read it. Somebody with the kind of Welsh accent that just glides off the ear. Someone like Luke Walters, for example. I think Luke should read that. That'd be pretty good.
He could read it as Russell, but that's right. Okay, this is part of the reason I don't buy or read. Generally, there are some exceptions. Sports autobiographies, so famous sports players, especially famous cricketers. About 13 years ago, there was a whole hoo-ha about Kevin Peterson's autobiography where he just slated members of his former teammates because it was the world from Kevin's perspective. This is the world from Russell's perspective, and I prefer to read biographies, because I generally feel that biographies are more balanced, because they offer a more. It's just not from the author's viewpoint. Tom Baker's autobiography, of course, was hilarious, and who knows how much was true and how much was embellished. But that was an exception to the rule, and I generally find. It's normally a one-sided take on history. Okay. Yes. I found his Instagram post on reflection now. There's two words I will call it. and they're very polite. It's a very polite term. I found it to be tone deaf. I just thought it was not very well placed, and very well judged. And I much as I've said before, when someone leaves a position, I think there's a lot of good grace to be had by just saying thank you to the fans, thank you to people who've supported me, you know, you know, thank you for the memories, and then walking off. If you want to sign a book deal later on where you go, haha, right, so I'm going to get you, because there is normally in autobiographies,
settles.
Yeah, there is normally a few scores to settle in an autobiography of somebody of great stature. So for Margaret Thatcher, it was the Downing Street years where she put the boot in on various people. But so no matter who the person is, it's about, there is normally a bit of, when I say this, a bit of touch of Alan Partridge about the author. When they, you know, with the phrase "needless to say, I had the last laugh," and all those sorts of anecdotes that Steve Coogan lampooned and brought to Alan Partridge, and I feel that I feel that, you know, for balance, I much prefer another person looking at somebody and looking at their successes and when they've not had success, to give a more measured approach of an individual rather than reading someone's fanfare. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know what he's going to write, obviously, because I'm not involved. But of course, this will be Russell's spin on everything that's happened. And we know that Russell is an exuberant character who loves hyperbole, because everything is the most magnificent, amazing thing ever. And for me, this autobiography is not okay. Just like most autobiographies are not for me, because I like, unless the author or the person telling the story is more using more humility than hubris, and I fear that hubris may be abundant in his.
That's very polite.
What gives you that clue?
I mean, I would go so far. I'm going to be less polite. I'm going to say that Russell T Davies comes across.
You go for it.
I think he comes across as a bitter, twisted, obsessed tosser who despises his audience, and the idea of parting with money for anything else that this man believes he can put upon the public makes me feel bilious, to be honest. And I used to be a big Russell T Davies fan. I'm not anymore. Let's put it that way. I don't wish to hear anything more from this man. I will not be reading or listening to this book. But it's understandable. A lot of people will be interested. Will perhaps hope that he may impart some wisdom. Yeah, that bus left a long time ago. That he may showcase not just humility, but a sense of regret. I don't think that's on the cards either. I think it's very clear that he regrets absolutely nothing, even after experiencing the worst failure of his career. And the publishers described this book as a memoir fizzing with a love for television and the power it has to draw us together in an increasingly fragmented world. But the irony of which is that I can't think of anything more divisive than Russell T Davies' work on the show over the last 2 or 3 years, deliberately divisive, and his attitudes towards audiences too are indefensible. So whereas usually I jump all over any book about somebody who's worked in television for so long, particularly somebody who writes so well, or in such an accessible way, I won't be supporting this, endorsing this in any way. But it's a significant book. Of course it is, at a particular time. And there will be people who will be happy to pay money to go and see him to speak about it as well. It'll be interesting to watch the fallout when this happens in October, Charlotte. Russell T Davies is responsible for a seminal Doctor Who book in the form of The Writer's Tale, which he co-wrote with Ben Cook several years ago now. I think that was around 2008. This is a superb book. There's no way of getting around that.
Brilliant book.
But Russell is not the man he was, David. And again, I can separate the man that was to the man that is. But this is where myself and anything that Russell is doing, publicising, writing, anywhere, even on television, I won't be a consumer of any of it. I mean, what do you think, Charlotte?
You won't be the only one, because it's like, if you go back to like that Instagram post, the amount of comments in his own Instagram post, which was basically saying, Russell, you have no right to sort of have this sort of sneering goodbye because of what you've done. It was sort of a varying version of that sentiment. And usually when it's like one of these people's own platform, it's full of their supporters. Like, that's what you expect to be, full of people who sort of adore this figure. But it was just full of Doctor Who fans, clearly, to me, reading the comments, who were just royally sort of annoyed and were sort of saying, you've messed all this up. So I think, like you said, this timing and scheduling, this would have been in the works for years. This would have been planned for years. And we've all said this at the time. You could see Russell's attitude in the press he did do during Shooty's run. He never imagined it would have gone this badly. Like, that never played in his head. You can see that in his mannerisms, in the way he sort of laughed off stuff like, oh, I don't have to explain why it snows when Ruby appears. And he thought that was hilarious, that people were asking for what that meant. So that's a guy who's fully in his own planet. So I think this was all planned. Like you said, I'll be intrigued with if there's anything that gets through that's negative, because like I said, these things are usually so planned and screened and very carefully sort of organised. And I think if you would have done this book before coming back to Doctor Who, it would have been a very different world for him to do this, to do his big book about. If he would have just come off It's a Sin, which I still say to this day, that was very well written. That was
most of his TV shows have been superbly written.
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock them.
So I think, like I said, it's timing once again.
Well, but
the thing is, you've got to keep relevant.
Well, I mean, at this point, this guy is arrogance and ego personified. He even said recently, I can't remember if it was on either a radio show or a podcast, they asked him, would you change anything, about this current run? He goes, no, I wouldn't change a thing. He has no regrets. And it's like, really? Okay. I mean, to me, that's kind of, honestly, that's just sad. It's like, okay, you had this, what you had billed as this huge new Whoniverse. Disney was going to be funding. We were going to have multi seasons without any breaks. We were going to have spin-offs, and it all fell apart. Oh, but he's not going to, he's not going to admit he wouldn't change a thing. He's not going to take ownership of any of that. Well, it's like, oh, hey, Russell. So then, who does take ownership for all the plummeting, viewing figures, and who does take ownership for all of the apathy which has consumed the show at this point and has necessitated a probable multi-year hiatus if your hands are clean? Because as you yourself said, you wouldn't change a single thing. You don't have any regrets, and which to me is kind of, it's both mind-boggling and frankly kind of pathetic that if he, and maybe he does and he just is not going to admit to him, maybe he just doesn't have the ability to recognize, his own mistakes. I think honestly, if I could go to a signing of this book, I would like to think that I would be able to walk up and hand in the book and I would say, sign it to Gary from the Show Killer. And just to kind of see what would happen. But you know what? I'm not going to buy this book because frankly, I'm all stocked up on toilet paper and I don't have a pet bird, so I don't need any cage lining. So however much this book costs, I think that I'm going to skip this one. I would, though, years from now, when the NDAs expire and we get some kind of like tell-all behind the scenes insider, at that point, like, take my money, for that book. This, no.
We've got a quote here from Russell T. Davies.
Sorry, Dan, I was just going to say, it just comes back to consumerism at the end of the day. We, the fans, are the consumers of his product, and we shell out for stuff, we pay for stuff. And when people have gone and said to him, actually, I don't really like this, and been thoroughly respectable on his Instagram, and then he turned around and told them to F off, I don't feel that I could give somebody more of my money to read a book about it, because it's how you deal with how you interact with the people of whom have been respectful in reply. I'm very polite and said, I didn't like this and I didn't like this, but I did like this and I didn't like that. He turns around and goes F off. And I'm afraid that's when I lost respect for the man. If somebody had gone and said the word horrible things to him, and that I would be saying fair play in your response to that, because you don't deserve to be abused or anything like that. But when somebody did that, and it was on Instagram because many people screenshotted it, a really reasonable sort of reply, laying out why they had issues with certain elements of his show running and his content. I'm sorry, but that for me is not an appropriate response to a consumer. So I won't be partaking in that, because
I don't think he views us, any of us, as consumers, whatever age we are, whatever demographic, anything about our identities at all. You're either with him or you're against him. You either accept his teachings or you're part of the problem. It's very, very binary for this man. And I think that's going to get worse, judging by his latest rantings. There's a blurb, there's a quote here from Russell T. Davies. He said, concerning this book, The Queerest of Folk, which is going to be in hardback and available as an ebook and audiobook too, you'll be pleased to learn. He said he describes it as what it is to feel the spark and flood and burn of ideas popping into your head, coupled with the day-to-day business of meetings and pitches, the frustrations and the hoots over a career that has spanned 5 decades.
We just couldn't appreciate. We just couldn't appreciate his genius, Dan.
There you go. That's what it is. Some will view this as a must-have. I suspect that not everybody feels the way that I do about Russell T. Davies after all this time. I accept that, but it's the hardest of passes for me on The Queerest of Folk, A Life in Television by Russell T. Davies and Boyd Hilton, published on October the 8th, 2026. This isn't the final cover, the one that's in circulation now with the coffee ring and the old-fashioned type aesthetic. Heaven knows what the eventual cover will be like. I would imagine that somebody will be in drag somewhere. So when we get that, obviously, we'll look at that if we have to. But in the meantime, yeah, it's out on October the 8th. Lots of people may get this in their Christmas stocking. I don't know. If it's somebody you really hate,
I'd rather have the lump of coal if it's all the same to you.
Send it their way. Yes, why not?
Soft, strong, and thoroughly absorbent.
What are you suggesting, Billing? What are you suggesting, sir? Oh, I think I need to sluice all that away with something more substantial, even than that.
Now, I suggest you start watching Type 40, because I can't. I've got to watch this little blighter. The jobs are... I'll have less of that from you, thank you very much. Know your place.
Know your place.
Look, if I have to run up a flight of stairs, you come and find me.
I'll be in the lift.
That's going to the bottom of the floor, then. Keep watching Type 40. There's good chaps.
Cheers, Scott. Oh, out of time already? Surely not. It looks like we are. We're out of time. What a show. I've really enjoyed coming back to the coalface and talking more about Doctor Who, despite the fact that the TARDIS isn't in the best of shape. So this is when we last saw it. A bit of TLC could be required, David, but leave it to the fan base. As always, I suppose we've got to pick up the pieces, get the toolkit out, and it'll take however long it takes.
That's our metaphor picture for the day, this one.
I think it needs a bit...
Our metaphor picture.
I think it needs a bit of a reboard and MOT.
£25 apparently, everybody, on Amazon for that. So for the book.
Russell's book, or for this?
For 25.
I paid
£25 apparently.
I paid 25 quid for that, but a bit of paint and a bit of TLC. That'll be all right.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. See, there is. It turns out there's a lot more going on, more to talk about than you'd think. And if you want to let us know what you think of all of that, send us a message, no less, from the future. That's how we like it. Reach out to us, as always, through our social medias. If I can get it back on screen. Yes, we're positively singing for your comments wherever and however you can get them to us is fine by us. That is certainly not going to change, he says, as he tries to buy some time to kill the picture. Everything's going fine.
It's too late for an SOS.
Don't start, Gary.
I think Colin's singing a different song. I'm not showing what the girl with the teeth is doing, but
somebody in the chat apparently says 24 pounds 99 and a half too much.
Oh, yeah, it could be a harder sell.
That's harsh.
Could be a harder sell. Okay, where were we? It's going off the boil. It was going so well. Okay, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who, and it's all kicking off in the Type 40 Facebook group. As always, we are making our own amusements, and if the well of things that they have done to get angry about is starting to dry up, I think between all of us, the thousands of people that are in the Type 40's Facebook group, I'm sure we can find more things to fight about over the coming weeks, months, maybe years, decades. I don't know. All of that remains to be seen, doesn't it? So come and join us in the Type 40 Facebook group. Get some feedback into us through your smartphone there. Any kind of feedback at all. You can record it. Amazingly, you can record it. Any suggestions you may have, any secrets you want to impart to us too. SpeakPipe. There's a link in the description to that. You can get involved with Type 40, the live stream, and the podcast right there at the link. As for the rest of it, yes, the usual places. So the playlist is stocked up with our previous conversations. Lots of long-form content, some positively evergreen. Our focus is on various seasons and stories and the people involved in making Doctor Who, as well as the rolling news coverage and our in-depth reports that have broken so many news stories over the last few years. We have beaten everyone to the punch. Who culture? Who culture? Who's that? Nowhere. Keep it Type 40 live if you want the first word about what could possibly come next. The Type 40 podcast as well across all major podcatchers. So your Spotifys, your Audibles, your Apples and your Amazons. There we are with the Type 40 podcast, including this latest edition. Myself and Anthony talking with Dallas Jones. This was a lot of fun. very eccentric man. Lots of tall stories and some fabulous images too, exclusive to the enhanced video edition of the latest Type 40 podcast. So go and get it in your life and enjoy. Who needs Doctor Who on the telly, Charlotte? Who needs Doctor Who back on the television?
Well, in the current state, not. So we can find entertainment elsewhere.
Worse things happen than Doctor Who being taken off screen. And I think it'll take a while to wash away the taste of it all, because nobody wanted it to end the way that it did. But we are where we are, and this show has never been about languishing on any of that, has it? It's about moving forward and having fun, having great conversations, and finding out what we can as well, that we can talk about it with everybody there in the live chat too. Everybody can get involved, and wherever the future is heading, we'll get there together.
Yeah, and it's just about finding your groove. I think that's the theme of what we need to do at the moment, and it's easy to get bogged down, but I'm very much the personality and the type of find something you love and flourish with that. And I think that's what we need to do with Doctor Who.
We don't know the meaning of the word hiatus on Type 40.
There's always something to talk about, isn't there, Dan?
Sorry, I was just pausing there, Gary. Sorry.
That's right.
We've got lots of we've got We've got this one from Julie Dunn, who says, sod the 4th of July. Let's win the World Cup this year to spite America. So we're a couple of days away from Independence Day, Gary. Have you got any plans?
I don't do. I mean, people have been setting off fireworks late at night on my street for the last few days, but
oh, really?
No. Oh,
that's just
that's a tradition. At midnight or 1 a.m. Oh, yeah.
As long as they're not coming through your letterbox, you're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I actually don't. I mean, I want to go watch some fireworks. Why not? Probably just watch movies,
There you go. Celebrate how you wish to. Are there any Independence Day flavored movies apart from Independence Day? In the way that Groundhog Day was a movie.
Okay, my go-to one, it's an old one because it came out in the 70s. It was a musical called 1776. It's all about the signing and the lead up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I mean, the songs aren't really great, but the drama of the infighting about how the Declaration, got signed, the back and forth with Benjamin Franklin and all the characters and stuff, it's great. It's called 1776.
You learn something new every day, Charlotte. I've never even heard of that. And I had no idea there was a Canada Day. Apparently yesterday was Canada Day.
Yes, it was.
So all Canadians, I don't know what Canada Day is, but I'll just say it sounds brilliant. I'm sure it was great.
You celebrate, well, if our friend, going by our friend Bulls Trek Dan, Canada, I think they celebrate by getting out of the country for a day. And then they have to go back.
They pull the handle, don't they? Just go anywhere. Oh God, yeah. Look, keep watching, keep listening. Make sure you remain notified about whatever's kicking off here at Type 40 Live, where normal service is resuming. No party line, no beef, and no bullshit. We just take your comments, rants, and raves. We mix them in with ours, and we bring it all forth to kickstart, I suppose, your geeky weekend. That's how it rolls. So make sure you're notified, make sure you're subscribed, because we know that YouTube don't like us very much. So you're gonna have to make sure that you're still subscribed if you think you are, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications. Charlotte, it may nearly be pumpkin time, but you've made it through. Thank you for coming back despite the last month of intensity. She's still smiling, and long may that be the case. You're gonna go and read that.
So
over the next few
pleased
days,
you got
aren't you?
that book out.
Yeah,
I mean,
just like a kid on Christmas morning with that book.
We should look at some of these seminal Doctor Who books that sort of made our childhoods or our second childhoods. I think that would be a good thing to do. Again, a nourishing thing to do. So, yeah, cheers for that, Charlotte. Just happened to have it to hand. Absolutely brilliant. David,
that was not planned, folks. Not planned.
David, you're back from Trent Bridge, but no doubt you'll be. Are you into Wimbledon? I think that's about to kick off. There's always something sporting going on.
No, me and my daughter are off to Trent Bridge again tomorrow to see Notts. Then we're off again there on Tuesday to see the England limited overs T20 team that are better than the Test team against India, and then next Friday, we're off to Notts again to see Notts play.
So the next time we see you, you're not going to be dressed like Pat Cash with a big sort of band around your head.
I just cannot stand tennis. I love most sports. I would watch anything, I watch Inner City Sumo, as Partridge once pitched. 2 blokes in sumo wrestlers in a big chalk ring in the middle of the city centre fighting. I'd watch that. I'll watch darts. I'll watch snooker. But golf and tennis, oh my days, no, please. Oh, and Formula One. Why would I want to see a car just going round and round and round? No thanks.
So as long as they're going mano a mano in a noble art somewhere, you're down for that in the nicest possible way. There you go.
Yeah.
We know we now know the lines in the sand for David Milling as regards sport. But now, cheers again, mate. Glad to have you back.
Great to be here.
More of the Type 40 regulars will be falling back in for their shift in due course. So make sure you stick with us for that. Gary, not least of all you, mate. Heaven knows where things are going to go in the next 2 or 3 months. I know we've been having several conversations, but I'm excited about the possible destinations on the way between here and whenever.
Absolutely, and I urge everybody to stick with this because just as what happened with the first kind of hiatus, that basically sparks a lot of creativity, and I think we've talked about a lot of interesting plans coming up. So I'm really excited about it. As for the 4th, I just want to say to everybody in the US, happy July 4th. And to all of my British friends, I would just say, maybe better luck next time.
I can't possibly follow that. Cheers, everybody. This has been Type 40 Live, back again, where we always have the time. If you have the space, have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, happy 4th of July.